read it. I wish I'd had this one a lot earlier, but it's from my mom and dad. They had it when they were in college. Not going to date them too much, but let's say it's at least 40-ish years old, maybe a little older. So it's a English-Latin dictionary. And for me, knowing that, like, scientific names and stuff, especially in classes, well, that makes sense because albus is kind of related to white, and so when we're talking about stuff like that, every time it pops up, it kind of triggers that in your brain going, oh yeah, I remember that means, like, it has no hair, like, or wow, it has hair, or it's white, leukocytes, white blood cells, leuc being white. So all sorts of things, you can start stringing words together again, so it's not all random bits of knowledge, it's kind of like a puzzle, which is a little more helpful. Currently what I'm reading, The Elegant Universe, String theory. It hurts the brain, but it's interesting too, so I'm having a lot of fun with that. This is a book I try to keep updated, but I do it like not as often as I should. It's just a life list of birds so that you can kind of remember what you've seen, and I guess I'm a nerd enough that I'm kind of laughing and interestingly looking at that, but you eventually look back on it, and it's kind of like a scrapbook, because I'm looking at these remarks where I'm like, gosh, I said crows like donuts. Wow. Well, I guess I was, like, in high school then, so I had a sense of humor. And then I kind of wanted to go through, some people ask me about book recommendations or what would you use for whatever. Obviously, you wanted to have it on the topic of your choice, but this is one that I haven't read all the way through because I wasn't really motivated to read through it. I don't see a lot of tracks. There's a lot of people out there that do go tracking and they go hunting and stuff. I haven't gotten into that yet. This probably will be a good book for them. It had a lot of signs that it would be a good book and up my alley. Not up my husband's alley because he prefers, like, give me the picture and, like, it ends and that's it. Whereas I'm like, give me the details, all the little details, and that's what I'm into. So it had a lot of black and white, but, you know, for tracks, it's not like it needs to be color because it's mostly going to be mud or snow anyways, or sand and poop. Who wants to see poop in color? That's a joke. I do poop a lot because I work at the shelter, the animal shelter. But it's a good book. I actually have read most of this book because I needed something to read in college, and I was like, that looks interesting. Not that I've ever really seen any of these other than in the zoo, but for me it was interesting because, like, I've seen that in my book, and I was like watching Animal Planet and Animals on the Serengeti and going, oh, I know what that one in the background is now. So, nerding. But it was a good book, color pictures, and this is kind of one of the styles of the field guides that I kind of wanted to bring up later. Some more of the books that I read as a kid was just the, like, here's a picture of one of everything kind of books. Dogs, horses, cats, aquarium fish. Totally nerding it. I'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, we had rats, so I had some rat books because they're cute and they're friendly. Sibley. This is kind of one of the things that I think would appeal to my husband. It's just a little pamphlet with very minimal information and very, like, basic information. And I kind of use it when I remember to, and by the time I remember to, it's time to go to bed because I'm camping and I'm tired. I'm like, oh, right, stars, snore. So it does a pretty good job of just being like, okay, 1, 2, 3, this is the small stuff. And they kind of, for this one, I was not impressed when I noticed they put things like the ice cream cone in, but it points out which stars are in the ice cream cone, so still kind of useful. This is one of my husband's books to compare against my books where it's, you know, picture and a little bit of text, whereas I end up with picture and more text and just a lot more information with the introduction talking about different aspects of the habitat or how it grows. Being stalked by the cat. This is one of the books I had from my, I think it was wildlife management class. It was an interesting way of identifying birds based on beaks, which we actually did. They had, like, mounted ones, stuffed ones, so I mean, and it's really specialized, which is another thing about when you start looking for books. What do you really want in a book? Are you looking for, I want to identify waterfowl only, versus I want to identify birds. All of the birds in North America, all of them, I want to know. So, getting into, like, Michigan's Bird Guide too, or, you know, the birds of Seney Wildlife Refuge, what's the scope of information you're looking because that really affects what you choose. This weighs a lot more than this does. What do I want to carry? But then again, the chances of me identifying a bird based on its beak in the wild, not as great. I mean, I could stun it with something, but that wouldn't be fair. Here's another one of my books to talk about field guides. This book, like a few others, has plantains, one of my favorites. Has their painting, watercolor, drawing things versus actual color photographs, which some other books do. Depending on the photograph, it's nice to have the photograph, but the painting can kind of include everything that the artist thinks is important, whereas, gosh, the bird didn't have its leg in the right position for you to see whatever, or the lighting wasn't great or something. So that's something to consider, what you prefer, or maybe you would like to have one of both. Another class book about reptiles and amphibians. Field guide, make sure you check to see what it covers before you actually purchase it, because if I was to go to Texas with this, I may have a few of the animals in the same area because they're kind of all over the United States, but I probably am not going to be getting stuff like maybe the bog turtle, because they probably don't have a lot of bogs in Texas. So we'll put that in there. Another one of my books, and this is another picture book, and when it comes to pictures, I would probably go with the color, because black and white and photograph is kind of a waste of time. But then again, you may find that that's all you need for what you're looking for. I like this one. It's one of the ones I'll probably give you the ISBN for. I don't think I've sat down and read it cover to cover, but I've read sections of it and then got busy with something else. I'll leave it in the car or something. I'll just read it when I get stuck somewhere and bored. But I like that one. I like my Sibley. This is my favorite bird book because, like I said, it's got, I think it's almost all of North America, well, all of the U.S., and you can kind of catch a little bit of Mexico, but since I don't really go to Mexico very often, I didn't need the information. So these books, again, have drawings, not photographs, but the interesting thing here with the drawings is they can sandwich in summer plumage, winter plumage, breeding plumage, males, females, and stuff, and they can kind of all just sandwich it in instead of cut and paste with the photograph, which would kind of be distracting if you did it with a real photograph. I really like this book for a lot of reasons. Each kind of section has a whole quick rundown of what that section covers, so if you're like, oh, it was a water bird, it had longer legs, so you could kind of quick scan into one of the sections that looks like that, and that can get you closer, or you can just, I kind of do the lazy way. I'm just like, oh, I think those were in this section. Yeah, okay, yeah, wrens are in here, or vireos, or I know like ducks are in the beginning of the book, so I'm looking for the beginning. But one of my favorite books is Sibley. I think this was actually a birthday gift to me from my parents a while back. They have a Sibley version. Who's having nightmares? I think of Eastern or Western books version of this too. So you can't just be like, Sibley, she said Sibley, so it's Sibley, and I got the right book. Depending on what you want, if you live in like New York City and you never plan to go anywhere out of the East, that would be fine to get the East Coast if you're not interested. I think it's probably a little cheaper too, and it is a lot skinnier. So what do you want in your book? And I think this is the last one I pulled out, almost last one. And we may end up having 2 videos as my intro video, but this is a rocks and mineral book, which is more of a guide to than a field guide. A lot of the stuff they do in this book or describe in the book aren't stuff I would do in the field. I'm not that interested, but I did still want to know a little bit about minerals, and so I snagged this one somewhere. Plus, it's got pretty pictures, you know, granite, and actual granite versus like not quite granite, but it looks like granite stuff, which I thought was interesting, and I have read, not cover to cover again, but I've read through it pretty well. Lastly, when it comes to what kind of information you're looking for, here's an example. This is my aquatic insect field guide / textbook thing. When you're getting a field guide with things like mammals or birds even aren't so hard to do. You don't have to worry about as much about the details, unless you're getting like the kids' book. This is a duck, this is a blue jay kind of thing. But this book goes down to, I think, it does order. I think it gets down to species in some cases, which means for insects, especially aquatic insects like this, that means you have to know the often, and you get out your dissecting scope, which is a little bit less power than a microscope. It has a tray, and you're poking at it with like little prods to see which part of its little leg is sticking out where and how much hair it has on it. Well, never mind, because they have hair thingies everywhere, or counting the number of veins in a wing. So if you're trying to figure out dragonfly, damselfly, some of those species that are easy to tell about by color, I would go with more of a book that's something like the Audubon's or the Simon & Schuster or the equivalent of the Sibley or Peterson. Peterson generally makes a good guide too. If you're actually trying to figure out what species or what as close as I can get of whatever I was looking at, you're going to end up with the dichotomous key where you get the first question is like, does it have 6 legs or does it have 8 legs or something, and then the answer for each takes you down through a key, and you keep moving through the key, and then it finally sends you to like a page or a section, and you can use that kind of to help you figure out what it is. But this doesn't go very well in your backpack unless you have a large backpack. It's unwieldy. At this point, color pictures didn't really help, so they just gave you black and white line drawings with little like lines going ridge here, notch there. So not usually what people are looking for. People tend to look more for the Petersons, the Simon & Schuster, the Sibley, random field guides. And I don't really like the Golden Book field guides because they're too small. They're one of his favorites because they are small, and that's all he wants is just the little picture. So that's kind of a brief history of me through the bookshelf, except for my sci-fi books and other books like that, which aren't really that useful. But yeah, welcome to my channel and the insanity of me.